Cemetery Committee meeting for June 26, 2025 to order. All right, this meeting is held in person. It can be viewed on local cable channel 1303 or on the internet by accessing bucksportmaine.gov, selecting agendas and minutes, choosing this meeting, and clicking on the video button next to it. Okay. And so the minutes, did everyone have a chance to look at those minutes?
Yes, we did.
Do we need a motion to accept the minutes, I believe?
The difference in sizes on the chain
In the minutes from the
in
7th?
the minutes.
Yep.
Yeah, I think there's a little confusion there on
Okay.
what went on.
I can.
I don't know if all the small chain was changed to the big chain or not. I didn't go.
I haven't seen anyone there since they initially came out and started changing the ones up by your property line.
So we need, so what, is it not specific enough in the minutes?
So I guess what I'm saying is I don't know is all the small chain was switched out to the bigger chain.
Okay, I'm trying to remember what it said. Did it say that
No,
it had been switched over? I'm just addressing what the minutes say, and then the rest of that we can talk about
Yeah.
in a minute. So maybe it needs to be reviewed, and we can
Yeah.
table the minutes for that matter.
Can we do that? Yeah.
Table the minutes, sure.
I'll make a motion to table the minutes until the next meeting.
I'll second it.
I'll second as well.
All in favor?
Thank you, Laurie. I'll look into it. Do you want to, I'll look into it and we'll figure it out
Yeah.
for the next meeting. Thank you.
Okay, so then our first discussion item is an Oak Hill update.
Second.
Sure what the fence vendor, everybody knows who the vendor was.
Wasn't it?
Installation schedule, it's already installed.
Right.
Mhm.
The maple tree.
It's just the
needs to
maple
be
tree, I guess,
addressed.
is in question.
Yeah.
The reason these are brought up like this is because they're just copied from the previous month and things are sometimes edited out. They just didn't get edited out like they should have. Future maintenance would be the town managers. Would be a point person for that, I would think, eventually. Because it's being done by maintenance being done by the town crew now. And in the past.
Is that who is mowing?
That's my understanding, yeah.
Well,
The town,
Right now?
yeah. Oh,
no,
it isn't?
because
Yeah.
well, I wondered, because from the last
Thank you.
meeting that we had, you had mentioned you were wondering how mowing was happening, but then at the next council meeting, we approved a bid for mowing. And
Oh,
then
okay.
I was speaking with the folks that do the mowing, and they said they had spoken to you at one point when they were doing it. Just but I don't know. Do you have
I
any
don't have,
comment?
I don't have a name.
It's it's Matt Morrison
Okay.
is the, I don't know what I'm not sure what I think it might be Mo's Mowing. I have
We
to
can
double
find
check
out.
on that, but I know he had approved that bid, and I see Matt from time to time, so he had mentioned that they had started doing that.
Yeah, I saw them before they started the first mow. I thought the first mowing was a bit shaky. Second one I thought was good. Linda, I think, disagrees with me on that.
Yeah.
And they started a third mowing today.
Yes, and
They don't do it all at once. They do it like in
yeah, they do it in
sections.
sections, but definitely the first time they didn't do it well, but my concern, I was gonna go over and talk to them today, but I missed them, they pulled out too fast, and there is an area that, I don't know whether they think it's flowers growing there, but the weeds are like 3 feet tall.
Oh,
Wow.
And they keep avoiding it.
Okay.
They do not take it down. And there is also a gravestone that is laid over and flat, that's being devoured by these weeds. And
Oh, wow.
Whitney wants to get it repaired, but she can't get in there right now. So
Okay.
that is a concern, and I was going to ask them if they could take that down today, but, and even I could go over there with my weed whacker and do
Okay.
it, I'm
Yeah,
sure, but.
but I mean, if it's someone that's
Mhm.
doing it, it probably
Yeah.
is just, I'm just not sure what the process, so it seemed, is it true that, it used to be contracted out and then it wasn't for a while? And then the town, and then it's, so in the old process, I don't know who is their point of contact? Is that, do we not know, or is that?
When you say the old process, you mean the people, private people who mowed it before?
Yeah, when someone's doing it as
I
a,
don't know.
like, who is their direct contact to the town or
Well, to the
this
town, it's
committee?
always been the Public Works director, I think, although the town manager had gotten involved in the past, but I don't know how involved. I think they usually defer to the Public Works director. We've always tried to get some hours out of Public Works, total hours, to see if we could come up with some kind of a budget, but they never wanted to break the budget out. They want to include it in with the Public Works expenses, which, you know, it's hard to understand sometimes what the cost is. The other thing is, I've lost my train of thought. I was just thinking about, well, I'll figure it out, I'm sorry. This is me again.
Well, I'm grateful it's being mowed,
Yes,
really, and they're getting there.
Yeah, maybe there's a process they're getting through.
Yeah, well, when they first started out, there was one girl weed whacking.
Yeah, I know exactly who that is.
Okay. And one guy on a riding mower,
Okay,
but now they've got more help. And,
okay,
you
yeah.
know, that,
I guess my question too is on the contract. I wasn't aware of the contract, so I need to pay more attention, I guess. Was that contract for all of the municipal, just Oak Hill?
Just Oak Hill, as far as I recall.
Okay.
I could check my notes, but my understanding was it was only Oak Hill. Because that one, I think we did have, hours, something like 2+ work days of multiple people.
We, last time it was like 22 hours,
Mm,
something in that range. It may be more now, but we just threw a number of $30 an hour counting benefits. Came up with every time it's mowed, it was around $600-700, somewhere in that range, which is not high or low. It's just a number that helped us try to figure out, you know, what kind of budget but the budget will remain, I guess, with the Public Works. So that's the only budget I've seen is the amount that's given to the cemeteries, I believe, for the veterans flags and veterans stuff like that.
mhm.
But other than that, it's absorbed in.
I'm curious to know what the contract actually says. How many, you know, do they have to mow it so many times in the season, or mow it when it needs it?
Yeah, I don't think the details. I'm looking at my bag because I've got, if I can see if I have a copy of it right here. If you wanna, I can look. Do we wanna keep going? Was there anything else on that, on Oak Hill?
I do. I've got some correspondence from Whitney.
Okay.
Thank you, Larry.
The reason I ask that is because I like the way they're doing it. I mean, it doesn't get, as far as mowing,
Mm-hmm,
it doesn't get tall
mhm.
in
before it
between,
needs.
yeah.
They seem to mow it when it needs it. And actually before it needs it. Which is good. I like that. So this is an email I got from Whitney last night.
Excuse me, Larry, do you understand who Whitney is?
The person who repairs stones?
Yeah.
Okay.
And she says, I know the cemetery committee is meeting tomorrow, so I make a quick list of work remaining at the cemetery. If the committee wants me to go ahead with it, I can also put together a more detailed plan and estimate. And then she lists what has to be done,
She doesn't.
what should be done. We're just looking for permission to go ahead and do this.
Madam Chair, what's happened, this is, money's come out from an endowment that we used to replace the fence. What was it, 60,000 or something in that range, the original number that we had available to us?
The original
thought it
one was
was
like
7.
130,000,
Was it that much?
something, over 100, wasn't it?
Might have been.
I didn't think it was that high. But anyways, that's what we've been using
Mm-hmm.
for Oak Hill only.
Yeah.
And that's why.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but I guess I misunderstood the question. How much for,
Well, there was an endowment that was set up for Oak Hill a long
Okay.
time ago.
Yeah.
We've decided to use that endowment money
Mm-hmm.
to replace the fence.
Right.
Fix it in Oak Hill. The other amount of work that Whitney might have done would come out of a separate budget line, is my understanding.
okay, the 50,000 that you thought was the endowment?
Something in that range.
Okay, I'm sorry, I misunderstood.
I, for some reason, 72,000
It's in
sticks
that
in my
range.
mind.
Yeah.
And
I don't remember.
So that's how we have been able to do some of these items
Right,
at Oak Hill.
right.
And so my question with this that she's just submitted, I would think this is a good reason to finish that job for now. What do we have left in that budget line from that endowment money? I'm thinking, you know, what does she estimate?
good question.
She has to give, if we go ahead, then she'll give us an estimate.
If you like, she'll give an estimate.
Okay.
So, you're talking about money
It's still
Well,
available.
that's still available. I remember talk about that being this year that project was over, so as I recall, it's zeroed out for the July 1 budget. So would that mean that nothing is carried over? What section would that be? Because I do remember seeing that there was a large number there and it was moved to zero.
I don't know why they would do that.
Well, yeah.
Because it was for that one project?
I would like to think they didn't take, if there's any money left, to take that out of that and move it to somewhere else.
Right, there was no conversation that there was money there. That's the part that I'm curious to know.
Yeah, I'm not sure it might be in a statement, a budget statement, but I'm not sure it'd be in a,
Cemeteries, it's page
I mean, there's
71.
money put aside for cemetery use in the new budget. But this was something that's outside.
Outside of the
essentially
budget,
outside of the
okay.
budget.
Yeah,
Because Oak Hill Cemetery repair, the budget in 2025 had 62,000. And then it says 2026, 0.
62,000, that seems like a little high for what we've done there already, but you may be right with your 100 and some odd thousand.
No, I was thinking of something else, I'm sorry.
But I think
Um,
that's just because the project was considered complete.
Well, for this, okay, so which budget year are we starting July 1st, 26?
Yep.
So that's why it's zeroed out. That money's still there somewhere. It's gotta be there somewhere.
It's an endowment, we didn't use all the endowment.
That's what I'm saying. I
Right.
don't think we did, so it's
So
gotta be
we
somewhere.
can, do you want, make it, I can make a note to ask
Yes.
Jacob.
Where are we on that budget, on that line, not budget line? That's not part of the budget.
But doesn't cemeteries get, or did get something every year?
There is a cemetery, because I was curious about how that worked, but you said it's under Public Works.
Cemetery maintenance is absorbed in public works for right now. There's also cemetery money, every cemetery other than Riverview is given money like in the hundreds of dollars. My understanding, based upon how many veterans they have in there for maintenance and flags and stuff like that. So you'll see Evergreen might get 120 or 1,200 rather, and somebody else may get 500. When I've asked about that budget, that kind of budget, people keep saying they believe it's based upon a veterans, how many veterans are buried in there for veterans maintenance or something. But the rest of it, like when you talk about Moulton Cemetery or any of those other rural cemeteries, there's no budget line for those.
Well, it shows here, this is 2026, so starting next week. It says contracts 7,500, flags 800, Silver Lake 875, Oak Hill 300, Evergreen 1,700, Hillside 500,
Yep.
Buck Cemetery 1,450, Catholic 500, Lamphur 300, Moulton 300, Huey Town 300, Page 300, and River Road 10,000.
That's based upon 9/17. That's what that is about, trying to figure out what we're gonna do in there. There's also Brookside, which I'm not sure that's in there, but it's okay,
No,
okay?
This, I'm confused, is this money coming from the town it's allotted to the cemetery?
it's the exact same numbers as last year.
Okay,
It's the only
Makes
change
sense.
was the Oak Hill repairs.
right.
I know we haven't spent all that money, I just know we haven't. That's gotta be around somewhere. Even though they zeroed it up for 26, I can't believe they've absorbed it into general operations. What's left, because we weren't done.
And I don't know what Whitney's bill was last year either.
What, Whitney's bill, you said? Yeah, I don't remember either, but even so, it's a contract. There's no money for a contract for mowing in there, is there?
Well, I don't know what the contract for 7,500 is.
That was what the town had
I'm gonna go, I have
Offered
to go back to my.
to
minutes.
pay for, if they could find somebody
Oh,
to,
okay, so that's a contract then, right there.
That could be
Yeah.
that one. I'd have to go back and find what day they came and presented to find the minutes to show you what it said.
Well, that's interesting, to say the least. But I would like to make a motion that we request Whitney pursue this offer here and come back to us with a price estimate on these repairs. I just don't see a point in doing all we've done there and just walk away from all these other items.
oh, right, there's, still quite a few,
But she does incredible work,
yeah.
and it's an honor and a pleasure, I think, to do business with her.
She does awesome. I've seen it in person, and she does an amazing job.
Mhm. Yeah, she does.
So anyone want to second that motion?
I sure do.
This will be to get an estimate.
Okay.
Okay, Stephen seconded.
All in favor?
So I will send her an email tonight, asking her to do that.
Thank you, I guess. Are you okay with that, Madam Chair?
Okay, so the 917 right away.
Again, the ball has been dropped by me on this. I met with Mark Eastman about a week ago. We talked about just about everything other than this. And he reminded me that there are items that he presented, which I scanned and put up on the drive, and I realized a lot of people don't access that information. The information that he gave me, I should have another piece in here somewhere. Here it is, ground penetrating radar. This ground penetrating radar was an effort by the town, I'll start with that, in 2021 to locate possible graves. What happened was we went up and based upon an assumption or a report, we thought that the graves were in a particular location to the side of the foundation. So the radar went up there, the town went up there and cleared some trees out of the way because they needed that to get the equipment in there to do the sound, but they didn't find anything. The reason is because we realized that the graves were up in the back of the cemetery. And we did find those graves at a later time. And we've located pretty much the location of the, if not all, the majority of the graveyard up there. The stones, that's where the stones were removed from originally and moved to the cemetery. The question, Madam Chair, is based upon the right-of-way. Larry, you may need to help me, Linda. There's a right-of-way that's been given on the page with the Fahn and Schwab, Town of Bucksport page, which is this one here. There's a 30-foot right-of-way that runs up the side of that property. That right-of-way was given to Tim Jerome, who I've got a contact information for him, and I haven't contacted him yet, and I apologize for that. But that's the concern, is that right-of-way, Larry, I'm gonna ask you to remember this if you can. The question is, does the right-of-way go into the cemetery plot there, the old cemetery location? And I know we found some posts up there when we went up there, and I'm trying to remember what the issue was, whether the right-of-way goes through the cemetery, and whether it's even doable.
So the way we staked it out, cemetery, the right of way would have gone right up the edge of it, right up the side of this, right through the cemetery.
So it was going through some of the plots, yeah. Okay,
So what we're looking for is permission from Jerome
Tim Jerome.
to stake that out,
When you say stake that out, what does that mean? Just,
stake out the cemetery.
oh, okay,
It's already temporarily staked out.
that's correct,
Correct.
you're right, yeah. And then the plan was, what, if we can get that and get that staked out, then the town might go in there and develop access so we can move the stones back where, close to where we're never gonna put them back in the right location. Correct, but to get them back up there into that particular location. But they would have to, and the gentleman that owns the property now has been very cooperative, they've been wonderful to work with, and their name slips my
I've
mind.
heard his name too.
But they've been very nice, and we've sort of lost contact because we just haven't pursued this, because we've been involved with Oak Hill. But it's gonna take some money to do this as well, and that's gonna be another hurdle that we're gonna have to. Just can't throw them in the back of a pickup and get out there and dig a hole.
So is there any sort of plan that has any sort of plan been discussed for who would move it and how that?
The only plan, Madam Chair, as I've said, I don't believe the town employee should be doing it.
I don't think the
they
town, I don't think the Public Works wants to do it.
Right.
Right,
Probably not.
because they're slate, many of them are slate, and they're very brittle. And I don't know if there must be somebody out there somewhere, but that does these kind of things, or knows how to handle these kind of things, but it's gonna be a challenge, but we need to get the okay from Mr. Jerome to mark out that cemetery. And the right of way is on this sheet here, it's a dotted line that goes along the whole length of this piece. There's a dotted dash line, not dotted, but line of dashes there. And that dash line from there to the margin of the property line is the right of way that goes out to Route 15.
Mhm.
And we think that this was a rather recent right of way, but I'm sure. You can see on this, at least, at the corner of the church, came right up to the right of way edge,
Yes,
the back corner of the church foundation.
and the larger picture shows the corner of the church and the apparently cemetery site, that's right.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, we, that was when we did the side scan, and it just didn't quite work out the way we'd hoped. But I really think maybe perhaps it's time for another site review. Go up there and review it again, that might be a way to get everybody up to speed on what's going on. It's gonna be a difficult,
Yes.
it's been a difficult situation, but it doesn't need to continue to be difficult. Now that we have these surveys, the surveys we didn't have originally available to us, they have been located. And I will contact Mr. Jerome, but I will contact him through you, Madam Chair, to make sure that I'm not out here doing this on my own. Perhaps we could invite him in to talk to us as well.
As far as moving the stones, Whitney and I have talked about that. She actually thinks that she can do it. That conversation was probably a year ago now, whether she wants to or not. Now, I don't know.
I understand,
How many stones is it?
I think there's 17.
something like that, yeah. They're not all slate, some of them are a couple granite ones in there, but they're laying down up at Riverview Cemetery. And it's not helping.
When were they put there? What year?
Around
were-
1982, somewhere in that range.
They've been laying there since 1982.
Wow.
They do have some stones at the corner, they put some granite marks around the corner, but I know in the past, lawnmowers have gone over. But they don't, I don't think lawnmowers go over them anymore. They do weed whack through them, but, it's a challenge.
I wonder who moved them in 1982.
Town, I believe.
Down?
Yeah.
Hmm.
The gentleman that owned the property was a counselor.
Wow.
The story is a family member didn't want to see him, so town moved him out of there to Riverview Cemetery with the agreement of the Riverview Cemetery people. That's the story you hear. I wasn't there at the time, I can say that honestly.
So you're thinking of inviting him to a meeting or
Let me sound him
scheduling
out,
a visit?
see, I'd like to do, he may not want to bother to come to a meeting, I'll have to respect that. I don't know the gentleman, but I'm gonna be, I hope it's okay if I continue to talk with Mark about it, because Mark was sort of on the point on this. And, let everybody know what's going on. But I've been doing a million other things rather than this, and I apologize for not having more information. But Mark, when I did meet him, he said, don't forget you guys have that stuff, all that material online on the Google Drive, so that's why I had this printed out, so at least we could look at it tonight.
Yeah.
We've seen it before, I think. And this is an older version of this, basically. This is an older version, this one with the arrow.
Okay.
It's pretty
Okay.
much the same in many areas. We did find rods up there, posts, yes. And some of the ones that are on here, we did locate. We did find evidence of burial sites, which was mounds and stuff, all in a line, so we knew we were in the right place. Then we determined we needed to find a way, if we could get in there with equipment to remove those, to replace those stones. And the landowner was very respectful of that possibility, so with minimal, to build an access road, so to speak, up in there, and then replace those, set them, it's a huge project. I shouldn't put it that way, but it's a project, and it's gonna take some time and effort and some money, I believe, to make this good. There's also a Revolutionary War veteran on the stone that have been moved, I believe.
Is it true or not that there was money approved to make this move?
I don't know. I really don't know, Larry. To make the original move, you mean? To remove them and take them up to Riverview? Well, records are upstairs, I'm sure you can see it in the minutes. That I don't know. I didn't hit that neighborhood until '83, I think it was, a year later. It was either 80 or 82, but I wanna say it was 82.
I mean, recently in the last 3 years.
To move them back?
Yeah.
Not that I'm aware of. That would be nice, but not that I'm aware of.
If you would like, if I'm gonna check in on what's available for remaining funds for Oak Hill, I can also ask about possible money
Yeah.
that's been set aside or
That would be
where it would
wonderful.
come from.
Yes, if you would, please, that'd be
Yeah, sure.
great.
That would be wonderful.
Anything else on 9/17?
As soon as I contact Mr. Jerome, I'll let everybody know what's going on. And, also, I'll try to have a meeting with the landowner to make sure that he's still very cooperative. He was wonderful. He was really wonderful when we went up there to talk to them, wanting to help us do whatever we need to do. So I just wanna make sure he knows we haven't forgotten.
Mhm.
And I'll let everybody know about that too. It's in my neighborhood.
So the person who owns the land where the cemetery's on is different from
Yeah.
This Mr. Jerome?
That's correct. Mr. Jerome owns the right of way, that dash line. He owns
Okay.
everything in here from Route 15 up to he owns this area up in here.
Yeah, okay.
But this person right here is a different person that owns this land.
Just to make it more
Alrighty,
complicated.
yes.
Well, no, this is a right of way, right? here.
Yes, yeah.
That Mr. Jerome owns the right of way.
Yeah.
This is a different person. The man that lived here when it was moved was a town council, lived in that house. Well, you haven't been up.
No,
So
I
what
haven't.
what I will do is I will contact, if that's okay with the committee, contact the landowner, ask him if it's okay if we have another site review.
Okay, yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah, sure.
And we'll go up, and I'll show you where the stuff is. We'll probably get chewed up by ticks, and I hope they have liability insurance.
I know, right? Yeah.
You're gonna be able to prove where your ticks came from?
Good point.
Right.
I think I have them all at my property.
Oh, my goodness. I've found 2 in the last 24 hours.
Yeah.
Terrible.
They're very unforgiving.
Mm. All right, next on the agenda is the Ginn Memorial.
The Ginn Memorial is a desire to set up a memorial for James Ginn. Is that correct, James Ginn?
Yes.
Yeah.
James.
Who was a Revolutionary War soldier and lived in Bucksport and had a shipyard in Bucksport, and the names that escaped us, correct me as I always ask you to do. At times it was Ginn and at times it was Ginn.
Mhm.
But we've not been able to locate Mr. Ginn's grave. We have extensive information on Mr. Ginn's probate, when they probated the will. Incredible information on how all that was done and who did it, but we have not been able to locate his grave. The DAR, I don't believe, has been able to locate a grave either. They have essentially the same information. So there's been a proposal to develop a memorial stone through, I assume to be the Veterans Administration, and place that stone in the back side of the Buck Cemetery here in Bucksport. The other thing is that Mr. Ginn had a shipyard, which pretty much is where the Hannaford brothers, the Hannaford supermarket is now. That was the Ginn property, and the shipyard was there. So we want to think that maybe it was the cemetery, the grave was down in that area. Obviously, we're not going to be able to determine that now. But Larry came up with the idea of developing a memorial. I did leave 2 messages with a lady who's with the DAR, named Elizabeth Ash Snow is her name, and I haven't heard back from her, so I'll do it again, see where she is with that. But it would be nice to get it done this summer, because we've been kicking this can around now for some time. And that's pretty much all I have as far as that goes. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I found out I needed to share. As soon as I hear from her, I'll let you know.
Would they be a possible source of funds, or what would their involvement be from?
They have a little more direct contact with that, because they're more involved in that. I don't believe there's any fund necessary. I think the Veterans Administration would pay for that. I think it comes out of their, part of their service, especially with a Revolutionary War veteran. And they have it, the DAR has it in their records. And I know that one of the genealogy sites that I log on to called Fold 3, they have his service and records and stuff like that. And then if you look, you can find his probate and his will, and extensive amount of information on assets and all that. Nothing about his grave, so it's kind of frustrating. And I don't know, I don't think we have to get, I think I asked Sue about this once, do we have to get approval from somebody, whether it be at the council, to place that memorial stone at the Buck Cemetery? I don't know. I don't think it's an automatic thing, but as a courtesy, or perhaps we should ask the council to give us the okay. I don't know.
Well, I can't imagine them objecting.
No, I know, but and I don't either. But I just think it
Yeah.
might be something just for paperwork.
I might be wrong, but it seems to me they've already given that approval.
That would be great, and I appreciate that.
it sounds like since so many of these things started a while back, it'll be interesting just to check in and see where Jacob's knowledge is on these past pieces.
Yeah.
We can get
Bless you.
Thank you.
him
Much better.
up to speed too.
As far as the stone, it's my understanding that DAR would take care of
Well, she was gonna
getting the
work,
stone.
They would
Yeah.
get it.
she was gonna work with us, and I just haven't.
She
heard.
just wanted to make sure that there was not a grave in Orrington or Orland.
That's what it was, and somebody was gonna check Orland. Was it Judith or somebody?
I think it was me.
Okay. And another was gonna check Orrington. His wife is buried in Orrington.
So do we know for sure there's nothing in Orrington?
No, I'll
We still
look
don't
into
know.
that. No, but again, his wife is buried there, so the question is, why wasn't he, and was he? And why was there no stone? So I guess the thing to do is see if you can find the records, the burial, interment records, to see if there's that. But I'm having a similar situation with another cemetery here in town, where there's people looking for famous people that are buried here, but there's no records. It's kind of frustrating when you go back to folks and say, I don't know.
Well, yeah.
But I will, I know Judith has a lot of involvement, of course, with the Orrington historical group up there and the cemeteries, and I guess, I know I'll talk to her and see if she's ever did look it up, but I know his wife is buried in there, one of those cemeteries up there. I just couldn't understand if she was buried there, where he would be buried, but there's no record of his burial anywhere that I've seen, and I keep looking periodically. So I will contact Miss Snow again, Ash, Miss Ash,
No.
Snow, Elizabeth Ash Snow.
Elizabeth,
I know what Elizabeth Ash and I know what Elizabeth Snow, so now I've got Elizabeth.
And Judith would know about Orrington,
We hope so, yeah.
So for Orland,
We hope so.
how do we, who knows Orland? Who's in Orland? Who knows who's buried in Orland?
I don't know how many cemeteries they have over
I can only go by the document that talks about Orland cemeteries. It's a booklet,
Okay.
so what Elizabeth wants to make sure is that he's not buried on one of his son's plots, who would be in Orland. And same with Orrington. So I've got some work to do, which I'm sorry I haven't done yet.
Me too. I know one thing that we left out, but we'll get that next. So I'll put it on the agenda for the next meeting. Right. Do you want me to do that? Never mind, we'll talk about that. I interfered way too much, I'm sorry.
No, that's totally okay. So, you said there's something else, cause we're down to other items not on
Right,
the
and
agenda.
I know we're getting going here. Hatch.
Yeah.
I forgot to put the
Yeah.
hatch
Yeah.
stone on there. And
Right.
I do not myself have any more information on the hatch stone. We were gonna go out, take a look at it outside, and so I just wanted to make sure we keep it on the agenda. even
That's
though we
right,
haven't got
I
more
should
information.
go up to the Central Street
Town garage.
garage and take a look
So
at the
I-
other half.
I was doing a tour of the town garage, and I
Oh.
didn't see the stone, but I did ask him, and he
Okay.
they said, yeah, it's there. So I mean, it's still wherever it was. I didn't personally
It's on
see
the end of
it.
the building, right by the road that goes down to the Arboretum out back there.
Yeah, we were right there too.
Last
I
time I
must
saw
have
it,
just
right in
been
the grass.
just
Oh, God.
out of sight
Maybe
of
they
it.
moved it, they may have moved it.
Well, and
I've checked on both sites, they're still there.
still, yeah, it's still in place. And I actually did speak to a hatch that I know to see, and
Oh,
he said
nice.
he doesn't have family that's from right here.
Oh, okay.
Mm-mm.
So I went up to the parking lot, Catholic parking lot. I was gonna move that stone. It was
No.
way too heavy,
Thank you for your thought.
Yes.
but I had good thought.
brings up, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, want to get, make mention of Oak Hill again and the maple tree.
Mm.
We had Big J come out and take a look at it and assess what possibly he could do. And that would involve, I think, a rod going through it or something of that nature to hold the
Mhm.
pieces together. And to trim it, get rid of a lot of the dead wood and stuff. And the storms have done quite a good job
Oh,
of
really?
that. A lot of wood's come down, but the question I've got is when and, are we going to do something about it this year? Or get another, well, we didn't even get an
We didn't put
estimate
it out
from
for
it.
estimates, no.
No.
We came home and thought about it.
Yeah. So I think the first thing to do is to get an estimate.
Exactly.
If we want to get an estimate from somebody other than him, I would get one from him too, but.
We could get the town to do it, and again, it comes down to the other question, which is how much money is left in the town. And
Yeah.
I think Whitney's situation would draw priorities over the tree
Oh,
to get those
yes.
stones fixed.
yes.
But that should also, whatever we have left should be put into the tree if there's anything left there.
Well, yeah, because you don't want a tree coming down on
Right.
those
If-
stones.
If we find it, here I am, because I think I voted against doing that, I don't think it was the time, but, if it becomes too expensive, then what? That, we can discuss that another time, but, my question is it worth doing this if it becomes really expensive?
Well,
And that's a
exactly,
relative
yeah.
savings.
We need to come up with a plan to start with, and then take that plan to Big J and get an estimate.
Okay.
He
Okay.
has looked at it though.
Mhm,
yes.
he has.
Site
And-
review.
Yeah, yeah,
We've met with him at the
we met.
tree.
I remember that. At the tree, yeah.
The idea is to save the tree because if we could take it down, nobody wants to see it gone,
Mm.
really. It's a beautiful tree.
It is.
The risk to some of the stones,
Yeah.
You know what I feel about that, that's my point, is that the crown of the thing and the stones are going like this around the tree now.
Yep.
yeah,
It's a mess, but the group voted to keep it, and that was fine, so. That's where we're at now.
Yeah.
Now that she's pointing out there's storm damage and other stuff,
mhm.
we gotta deal. But if it becomes expensive, what do you do? And what's expensive is a relative term, even if we don't have the money, maybe it's something we wanna do.
But as you recall, taking that tree down involved a crane.
Well,
Mhm.
trimming it out involved a train.
Yeah.
train
Yeah,
too.
that's right.
Yeah, it's a big tree. And just FYI, there are 2 trees already growing in the cemetery that need to be cut down now while they're still young and only 6 feet tall. And,
I got a little hand chainsaw I'll bring down for you.
We can take care of
Bring
that.
it up on it. How's that?
I got one too.
Well, see, there it is.
Well, I'll meet with our
Yeah,
chainsaws
you're
at
right.
the cemetery.
In fact, I've got to get it out and cut up some wood.
See?
But they need to be taken down, and I see no reason why the town couldn't come along and just cut them.
And again, it would be nice to know who the contract's with and how we have, what
Well,
our
yes.
liaison is with them, or how do
Yeah.
we communicate with them.
How big around are the,
I think it's
Trees,
still
tree.
fairly small, I mean,
so a handsaw can take.
yeah, yeah,
You show me where they're at and I'll take care of them.
Wow, there you go.
okay. Yeah, because they're just growing right up again.
Mhm.
I came into this meeting with work to do and I'm leaving with even more, so.
Well, everybody's like that,
Right,
know.
right. Are there any other items not on the agenda?
Not that I know of.
So this plan that I mentioned, when do we wanna do that? Have it ready for next meeting,
Plan for,
for working on that?
oh.
I
Well,
think that,
You can't go to Jay and say, well, suppose you could go to him and say, well, what if we do this, how much, and if we do this and this, how much?
Exactly.
You wanna write it down.
And I think he's the one that suggested, the rod. And we definitely knew it needed trimming to thin out all the dead wood and stuff.
sorry,
So I think those, at least those two items alone, we need an estimate on from.
we go through the town manager for that, I think. Isn't that how the process is done? Unless it's an informal one that's, we're looking for a written estimate, I think. Does the
Yeah.
town manager usually do that?
I just don't wanna meet with him and have all this verbal and
Right.
Right,
Yeah.
we need
written down,
something
this
concrete.
is the plan.
And I can definitely ask the same question as the other questions of just what would that look like and where would the money come from if there's money available, so.
Sue's a brilliant person on that. We have to hold her over from
She can't retire until we get.
We'll make
Till
sure.
we get
Right.
Gotta tie up all these loose ends.
Right,
No,
she
no,
can't leave, we'll chain her right to the chair.
Yeah,
Well, I can ask her about that, if that's the procedure. We can work together on getting something drawn up. Price on what, trimming, a price on trimming cabling,
On
price on just
cable,
cable.
yeah.
Send it to him and say, what can you do?
Cause that, it's not only cutting the dead wood out of there, it's actually lightening the load of the tree.
Mm.
So there'd be, where the dead wood would be, live branches.
All right,
it's an interesting question to think about for asking Sue a question because she doesn't usually work Fridays.
oh, that's right,
And-
and this is it.
And Monday was her
Ah.
last,
Looks like I'm gonna stay tonight then.
so you gotta catch her. Well, I mean, I will see her tonight if you want me to try to find out what we need to know, but I have a feeling we're definitely needing to transition the conversation to Jacob.
Well,
Yeah.
I saw her before the meeting and said, you're gonna like it 1,000 times more than you expected, and you gotta learn to say no to everybody. So that was
That may
bad
take a
move.
while.
What's that?
And not that she's, right, I was gonna say, it's not that if we have a question, we can't ask her. I know
Right.
she will respond, but,
We can wait
It's
till
a-
Jacob, he's pretty good, I think.
I'm sure
We
he'll
have
be.
no choice, it's gonna wait.
No,
till
no,
Jacob.
I'm sure he will, but it's just if she already has the information.
Yeah.
He may end up speaking with her about it as well.
All right, well, whatever you find out,
Okay, we'll, do we have a list, we're
Well,
leaving with a list of questions, so.
My thought was, I don't see any reason to put it off because it's only gonna get worse.
Mhm.
Then we're gonna be,
Back to square
have
one.
more expense, I think, if that tree ever breaks apart.
but I agree, we should have it in writing too.
Mm-hmm.
So, do you have an extra piece of paper? Are you making out questions for Sue?
I've been typing up.
Oh, okay.
I gotta put them in one place, cause they're in, you can have this if you want, I'm not, oh no, I should probably keep the paper.
Yeah, hold on.
I do like a paper.
Everybody.
So Sue, we need to know how much money's left in that. In the OPEB endowment. Sue and Jake.
Jacob, we are gonna have we've come up with a few questions for you, not that we need to ask you this moment while you just walked in the room to do whatever you're doing.
Okay,
But, do you have a few minutes before tonight's meeting?
I sure do.
Okay,
Are you meeting now?
yes,
Couldn't remember what time your meeting started.
yes. We're just on our last agenda item, but we're making a list of questions, so.
You're doing great work, Jacob.
Thank you, sir. I will say that we've subbed out Oak Hill mowing this year. And so that's a considerable amount of time off of our guys' plates, our highway department.
You wanna ask him?
Oh, so we do have a question about that, because we were, I didn't know which meeting to go back and look at the minutes. The question, I think, was, one question is if there are things that we'd like to see done there, if there's a patch that we think they think is flowers that actually should be cleared, how does that communication work?
The facilities director, he starts July 1, will oversee the contract relating to that, to the mowing of that. And so if there are issues or things that need to be addressed, you folks would communicate that to me, I would communicate that with him, and he would oversee that. So,
Great. Who's the group, what's the name of the company that's doing it?
Matt Morrison is doing, he works in some capacity at the school.
At the school, yeah.
Can't remember
He,
exactly.
well, he's a literacy coach for the district, and he also teaches at the high school.
Okay, yeah. So I believe it's he, and I believe his son helps him on occasion also. So.
Larry, did we get the answer for chain for the Oak Hill? We don't have an answer for Oak Hill chain yet, right?
Yeah, I don't know if, there were two different size chains used in that fence. And I don't know if they were gonna replace the chains that were broken, which would have been the smaller ones only, or to replace all of the small chain with the larger one. I don't know. I haven't taken a walk around, and inspected it, but I don't know if that was done or if that
I'm
was
not sure.
going to be done, or.
I think it was, the chain sat on Susan's desk for a while, so I know I don't know if we communicated with the vendor that installed it, the contractor that installed it or not. I hope they would make good on it if there was
Is
an
that
issue.
Superior Fence?
Yeah, Superior Fence, that's what it was.
That's what it is.
But I will look into that, I don't know that answer.
May I ask you a question? The rest of the cemeteries that the town maintains, that still comes from the public works, right?
Correct.
And we still don't have a separate budget line for that, for those hours or anything this time.
Not at this time, we could, I know we used to track them, I don't know if there's.
Well, we'd hoped that they would track the hours, the total hours, and I know it was taking 22 hours, 2 people, 22 hours or something like that on Oak Hill, which we threw $30 an hour, and that was back a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Counting benefits and all that, we get every time they do Oak Hill is around $700. So then we wondered how the rest of them would go, so we never got any hours from the public works on that.
Okay.
And plus, another thing, it would be nice to see, Larry brought this up, how many, if we contracted an amount of cuts per year on Oak Hill? Is there a certain time or, frequency or anything like that in the contract?
In the contract, I believe it's worded, it needs to be done every 7 to 10 days. Unless, during the growth season, you could potentially either get away with
Pray for drought in August.
doing it a
That's
little
pretty
bit
much
less, or maybe having to do it a little bit more during peak growing season.
And that's where the $7,500 number showed up in the budget, I think.
I believe that's, I can't remember what the contract amount was off the top of my head. but-
Jake, one of the questions we're also gonna have for Sue, if not for you, is how much money is left in that endowment.
Okay.
That's what we really need to know, so we can move forward with grave repair, because we're gonna ask a local vendor to come back with a price on how much needs to be done as far as grave maintenance and grave repairs go. But also, we have a tree issue there that we would like to address, so it would be nice to know what that number is.
Yep.
As we go forward, because that all came out of the endowment, it's not part of the budget.
Right.
Thank you.
Yep, that's easy, we can find that for sure.
I don't really need, I'm gonna keep that in mind, but I think we get a lot of answers right,
Mm-hmm.
rather than bother Sue.
Yeah.
So I have a question. So each year, each cemetery gets a certain amount of money. If those monies aren't used, does that carry over, or is?
We write a check to each association. We typically pay those, I think, in March or April. We just send them a check and they do with it
Mm,
what they see fit.
I don't,
There isn't the town-owned ones, there's not, to my knowledge, I don't think that there are specific line items for those. I think it's just the associations that we're mailing an annual appropriation to.
Because on that list, wasn't it
Yeah,
300?
I pulled up the list from
I could
the
be wrong.
budget, but there was one that you said isn't on here. But so it says there's an amount for Silver Lake, Oak Hill, Evergreen, Hillside, Buck, Catholic, Lanford, Moulton, Hueytown, Page, and 917 River Road.
Okay.
So most of those are town.
Yes. And my understanding that amount is based, I've been told, based upon how many veterans are in the park.
Yep.
Because there's no other explanation for it. When they started doing it a few years ago, I was here at the time and said a certain cemetery didn't need to have that money sent because they were, well, and they have been taken off ever since. But there is no idea other than veterans, the amount of, the total number of veterans in the cemetery as it relates to the town sending money to those associations. Because there's no tracking of that money once it's sent.
If it is not going to an associate, if it's Oak Hill, for instance, then that money is just there to be used during the budget year in case there's, I guess, a miscellaneous thing that comes up. I mean, $300 probably isn't gonna get very far, but I assume if there's flags that need to be purchased or something along those lines.
That's the
or
idea
mark-
behind it.
The holders, you know, that go in, that at the end of the year just rolls over like any of our other budgets do. It doesn't carry over from year to year.
Just disappears.
what about the
Well, so we were
cemeteries
talking-
on private property?
Mm.
Privately owned cemeteries that,
There's a couple, I don't even know if they have veterans. The ones that we visited out there.
what about Hueytown? They had a veteran.
They're not on that list,
Yeah,
Yeah, they are.
Hueytown
They are.
gets $300.
so there must be veterans in there.
Yeah. But there's no association.
Right, we're not sending a check. We send yearly checks to the associations
Like Silver Lake.
on there, right?
It says
Yeah.
Oak Hill, Evergreen, Hillside, and Silver Lake are associations. Those are
Yeah.
the ones you're talking about.
But
Yeah.
They get a check.
my assumption is that that dollar amount, I don't know if off the top of my head if there are veterans in
I don't know.
some of those private cemeteries or not, but it's just to have money available in case there's some
Yeah.
miscellaneous
Well, at one time too, and
expense.
still, I think Evergreen has, I know Riverview has town-owned lots. Way back from a long time ago, when the town farm was running out there on Town Farm Road,
Mhm.
they had town lots that they bought or leased or rented, whatever. And that was the assumption that they were part of that organization now, so they would be sending money in in case it's needed. I don't ever remember the town-owned lots, which are down at the bottom of Riverview Cemetery, have been used in those last probably 100 years, but who knows? But that was another assumption, because Evergreen had a lot more town-owned lots out there at the time. So their totals are higher, plus allegedly they have more veterans. But I've been trying to work with the American Legion to get this thing coordinated so we know exactly how many are in each one. And they've had difficulty getting back to me on that too. But that money has always been a constant question as to how they came to that
Where
total.
it came from,
Yeah.
it has.
Yeah.
Yes.
The one other money question, when I was looking at the budget, and, so the amount that was used last year for repairs, was the idea that that project is done? So there's not additional funds allocated for this year?
From my understanding, I think it was 62,000
Yeah,
maybe,
yeah, but,
was the cost of that project. I could be wrong about that, but yes, that the project was done, and that there would be, that money was coming specifically from the trust.
So
and that's
that-
what I thought how I had heard it.
Yeah.
These folks were saying there's additional parts of that. The fence part is done, but
Yeah.
there's additional work at that cemetery, like this maple tree and, the
So,
other issue.
yeah, that's my
other
question,
trees.
because that's why I asked, is there any money left in it? You're saying now there isn't.
Oh, there certainly is money left in the trust, absolutely.
Okay, all right. Now I-
But
okay.
without a specific project identified during the budget process,
Okay, yeah, I got you now.
we don't have a number to put in there.
Mm.
But if there's a project that
There
the
is.
committee wants to undertake during the year.
Yeah. Yeah.
It just requires approval and you do it and we
So we
transfer
can
the
go
money.
through you on that then. We bring that project to you, then you take it to the council? Okay. So we're waiting for an estimate on that grave repair project, and we'll get that, and then we'll get it to you and go from there.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm talking too much.
No, that's great. And thank you for just walking in the room.
Yes.
Yeah.
You're invited to all our meetings. You can see how
It's
excited,
been helpful, like
it's
I
been
said,
incredible.
some of them, the yearly appropriation amounts has always been a little bit of a question mark in my head as far as where those numbers generated.
I agree, it's questionable, and
Yeah.
there's certain cemeteries that are exclusive to a certain type of person. They're still getting subsidies from the public funds, which gives me a little bit of nervousness too there. So I just hope that doesn't rear its ugly head in the future somehow. It'd be nice to have an explanation on all of it.
Sure.
But I'm trying to find stuff, finding records is tough. There are some other records upstairs, but some of these cemeteries, it's tough.
Yeah.
It's tough getting their records and stuff. Thank you.
Okay, all we have left is to set a date for the next meeting.
Okay.
How often does the committee typically meet?
Do we meet in
Once.
July, or do we meet in August? Anybody have a thought on that?
I don't know. Maybe August
What's today? The
4th,
Today's the
26th.
26th.
26th. Yeah.
Are you looking to do the second Thursday again? Second Thursday of
That would be
The
Thursday,
before
July
the-
17th. I'm available the second Thursday.
of,
But you guys have a meeting that night? Are there other committee meetings that night?
There could be, there's nothing scheduled yet,
The 17th of July.
but not usually
Yeah.
at 5.
not this
So,
early.
yeah,
no.
so we would be okay to pretty much,
5 o'clock on the
I think-
17th of July.
6 o'clock's about as early as ours.
Is that everybody available, do you think, for that?
I think.
I think so. I think I'll be available.
Yeah, at 5 o'clock.
Okay.
I'm
Thank you,
good.
Jacob, you've been incredibly helpful.
Yes.
Motion to adjourn.
Yes.
Second?
all
Second.
those in favor?